Hello everyone and welcome to the Digimon video. In this video I am totally prepared to be making some people mad because I'm going to be dishing out my most unpopular opinions that I have about the Digimon franchise. Now, I've been wanting to cover this for a while and I'm excited to finally do it, so please be nice in the comment section. I know that these are just my opinions and they are unpopular, so by the definition of unpopular, I know that not everyone's going to agree with me. But that's just what opinions are, so you can roast me in the comments below, or you can toast me if you feel like you agree with me, but then again, they are unpopular opinions, so I'm not really expecting anybody to necessarily agree with me. They are opinions. If you disagree, that's totally valid. If you agree with me, that is also equally valid. It's just opinions. So in any case, my first one, I'm coming in hot by saying that Digimon Tamers is so totally overrated. It is okay. It is fine. Sure, it's probably one of the better seasons of the Digimon anime. I think it's just okay. I feel like a lot of the people in the franchise's fan following really thinks that it's the best thing that's ever made. It's not, at least in my opinion. It's probably one of the better seasons of Digimon, but it's still not incredible. It's not my favourite series of the anime. My favourite is Atmon, or Savers, or I guess Ghost Game is seeming like it's going to be up there. So Tamers is kind of like sitting in third or fourth place depending on how Ghost Game finishes up. So it's still better, but it's not as incredible as a lot of the people in the fandom give it credit for. It's not that deep. It's boring in some parts, at least for me. I feel like it's definitely not as dark as some people give it credit for, but that's just what I think. I still really like it. I still like Tamers. I'm not saying Tamers is bad. I'm just saying that some people praise it more than it's probably earned. But that's totally fine. I still like Tamers. But yeah, it's just, I was really hyped to rewatch it a few years ago because everyone said how great it is, and even though I'd already seen it before, I was always thinking, hey, maybe I'm just wrong about it, and then I rewatched it, like maybe 15 years ago, because everyone was like, oh, it's the best series, so it's the best series of Digimon, it's probably the best series of anime, and I was like, wow, it's gonna be really good, maybe I'm just not remembering it right, and I was kind of just a little bit, like, disappointed, but I was, like, watching, like, oh, this is fine, but definitely not as good as everyone gives it credit for. On the other hand, we have Cross Wars, which is not nearly as bad as people give it credit for, or I guess whatever the opposite of credit is. So, while it's not the best series of Digimon, and I probably rate Cross Wars under Tamers, as funny as that sounds, I'm saying that one's overrated and one's underrated, but I still probably prefer Tamers to Cross Wars, but it doesn't deserve the hate that it gets. Digimon has always tried to be doing something different with each series of the anime, and Cross Wars was no different there. They tried to use different mechanics, they tried to step away from the usual format that the previous seasons of Digimon have had, and Cross Wars did that, like all the other seasons before it. However, it gets an unfair amount of hate because it's just okay. It has no problems with it. There are bits that I don't think are my favourites, but it's also got bits that I really like. It's got a bunch of Digimon that I really like. I appreciate how we've got a smaller cast in all seasons of Cross Wars. It's got a nice focus on different characters. The main character is a traditional Goggle Kid character, like we have with Taichi and Daisuke, but they've actually given him the flaws of, oh, he overworks himself, he doesn't say no, but they're treating that as a flaw, rather than just, like, having protagonist energy being a positive thing. So I really do appreciate that in Cross Wars. It does have a younger demographic than a lot of the other seasons of Digimon, even though it's a kids franchise. Cross Wars definitely aimed at a younger demographic, which probably is why it's not necessarily as popular with the adult fans as, say, Tamers or Savers or even the original Adventure. People are not having this nostalgia when they watch it like they do with the original Adventure, but they're trying to watch something as an adult that is aimed at kids, and Cross Wars does feel like it has a younger demographic than all the previous seasons. So I can understand why an adult wouldn't find something that's aimed at a younger audience to be appealing. That's fine. And the dub of Cross Wars, Digimon Fusion, felt like it was aimed at even a younger audience than Cross Wars. So I can understand why you wouldn't enjoy the dub, but the dub is also harder to come by, especially when Cross Wars is all available on Crunchyroll. But if you are watching this video and you haven't given Cross Wars a chance or a try because of people saying that it's the worst season of Digimon, I'm definitely encouraging you to watch Cross Wars. You may not like it. You may just come out of it like how I feel about it, thinking that sure is just fine. And it is. It is just fine. It doesn't have that many problems. Young Hunters, which a lot of people don't enjoy, is a little bit harder to consume. It is mostly Monster of the Week, so if you don't like the episodic Monster of the Week nature of Ghost Game, you probably won't like Young Hunters, because it's mostly just this episodic Monster of the Week until the last few episodes. And a lot of people can't get through that, even though it's only just a shorter season of 25 episodes. So there is that. But definitely, if you haven't watched Cross Wars, definitely give it a go, especially if the reason why you haven't watched it is because a lot of people have been saying it's the worst, because it's definitely not. I think a lot of people haven't watched it because of what other people have said about it being the worst, in the same way that Digimon Tamers gets a lot of people watching it because everyone says it's the best. So also in this same sort of, this is mainly about the anime now, I'm realizing. Even though my love is virtual pets, I'm definitely talking about the anime a lot here, so that's exciting and new. So in the same sort of vein, we also have the original Adventure, which is just okay. Now, the reason why this is unpopular is that a lot of people seem to either say that Adventure's the best thing in the world, it's so good, but they're also seeing it through nostalgia goggles. I don't know anyone who's seen Adventure who didn't watch it when they were very young say that it's really good. On the other hand, we have people who are just anti-Adventure. They say, oh, it's bad, it's boring, everything Adventure's bad, Try's bad, Kazuna's bad, Zero Two's bad. They don't like anything that comes out of Adventure. And that's totally fine, but nobody's really saying that Adventure is just okay. It's just fine. It kind of like, in the middle of my rankings, that's where Adventure is. It's just fine. It is very much the start of the franchise in terms of the anime. It does do a lot of things really well, despite the fact that it has a huge cast. It has a good amount of focus on all the characters. So it does a lot of things good, but it also is fine. It has its boring episodes, and it has quite a few of those that are very episodic, particularly around the start when we're just getting evolutions. We find a Mon of the Week, we get an evolution, we go on to the next time and we do the exact same thing. We find the crest, and then we use the crest and we activate the crest, and then the Digimon evolves. It's fairly episodic, but not episodic. Formulaic is a better word. It's not episodic at all. It's very plot driven. But yeah, it's just okay. And while we're on the topic of Adventure being okay, Try is just okay, which feels like another surprising unpopular opinion. A lot of people just hate Try. But there's some people who really love Try, and that both are valid. I just think it's okay. I really liked the first half of Try, and then I think the second half of Try took a nosedive. But it finished off on an okay note. Just okay. It's just okay. Adventure's okay, Cross Wars is okay, Try is okay. A lot of Digimon is just okay. There's not a lot of Digimon that I would say is just, a masterpiece. Other than Atmon. Watch Atmon. So, again, I'm just looking at my notes here, I'm just like, wow, I'm focusing entirely, surprisingly, amount on the anime. So, my next unpopular opinion, and this is probably going to get a lot of people disagreeing with me, but the English dub is not that bad. It's not. It is a localization of a Japanese anime. A lot of puns and lines don't land the same way. The demographic is also different. An English-speaking kid will have a different experience than a Japanese-speaking kid who is in Japan. They'll have different, forms of comedy and different humor. They'll find different things interesting. And I know that if you're watching the dub as an adult, you're probably thinking, wow, this is just not appealing, this is not enjoyable. That's because you're not viewing it as the demographic. And a lot of my thoughts have to do with you need to watch it as the target demographic to really, like, I guess, enjoy it, because you're being targeted. If you're not the demographic, you're not being targeted. Things aren't meant to appeal to you. And the English dub of Digimon is absolutely that. It is very much a product of its time. It has humour and jokes that are cheesy, very cheesy, but are very much a product of their time, and something that if you are a kid in the early 2000s, you probably really enjoyed. I know I did. I very much enjoyed it. I know some of the lines are kind of like a little bit cringy now, I guess, but then again, I'm 30, living in 2022, not, 10, living in 2003 anymore. So there's that. It's just okay. Like, everything in this video just turns out the anime is just okay. End of video. No, the dub is just fine. It's not that bad. It targeted a demographic. You watch any dub from the early 2000s and you will just have the same thoughts, because they're targeting the same demographic or a similar demographic. On the other hand, I feel like it's not as hard to watch as, say, a 4Kids dub. I feel like a 4Kids dub definitely dumbed down the audience too much and tried to appeal too much to the Western audience. For example, Onigiri, Jelly Donut. Digimon never really tried to be anything other than like, oh, yep, we're going to Japan. They didn't try to like censor Japan at all. At the end of the season of adventure, they go to Japan, they go to Odaiba. The only censoring we get is Hikari ga Oka becomes Heightened View Terrace. But that's fine, because what kid can say Hikari ga Oka except for the Japanese one? So that's fine, but they still go to Odaiba, they still go to Tokyo, they still go to all the other places that they go to. They just go to Heightened View Terrace instead of Hikari ga Oka. So that's all reasonable. I feel like all the changes that they made are more or less reasonable. There's some weird ones, but I covered that on the podcast many years ago. I did all of the differences throughout the Digimon anime, and some are reasonable, some are not, but at the end of the day, it's a localization, and it targeted a demographic, and I think it targeted pretty well, because, as I said, compare it with other things that came out around the same time. And lastly, now I'm fairly certain this is an unpopular opinion, but the show needs more original concepts and less reboots and revivals. Now, I know we haven't had that many reboots and revivals. We had Try and Kazuna being a revival of the original adventure, and the upcoming 02 movie, and then we had, of course, the Digimon Adventure reboot that came out 2 years ago, but I don't want any more of that. I know a lot of people would love a Tamers sequel or a Tamers reboot or a Tamers revival or something along those lines to do with Tamers, but, and it's not just because I think Tamers is overrated. I think of this with all the seasons of Digimon. I don't want an Atmon season 2. When Atmon ended, I'm like, please, can there not be a continuation? I love Atmon, but I want the story to end there. I don't mind a one-off CD drama at all, like, that's fine. I don't want a whole series. I want new ideas. I want new ideas like Ghost Game. I don't want a reboot like Adventure Colon. I don't want a revival like Try and Kazuna and the upcoming 02 movie. Yes, I'm going to see the upcoming 02 movie. I'm very excited. I love 02, but I also like new ideas. If Tamers did get a sequel down the track, I'd still watch it. I would hope that it would come out as a movie rather than a TV series. I feel like movies work better as these sort of revival sort of things, but I don't want any more like sequels and revivals and reboots. I just want these new ideas. I love Ghost Game. I love Damwon. They're both new ideas. They're both going new places. But honestly, part of me is expecting Ghost Game to just continue. Like, it just continue like every other anime and just continue around that. And that's totally fine. But again, I hope the next series, if they do a new series after Ghost Game, is just another new idea. Because that's kind of what I'm into. But yeah, so those are my unpopular opinions. I guess they are just anime opinions. I know I said franchise at the start, but then I realized shortly after saying that, I was like, oh, no, I think most of these are anime related. I guess my separate unpopular opinion is that I prefer the virtual pets to any of the anime. It's my favourite part of the Digimon franchise. Maybe that's unpopular, I don't know. Video games, also great. Digimon Survive was better than anything that came out in terms of the anime. The manga is all better than the anime, but that's not unpopular. Even people who hate Cross Wars say the Cross Wars manga is good, so there is that, and I will cover that in a video at some point, because the Cross Wars manga, as I said, is good. It's wildly loved, which is pretty cool. But in any case, those are my thoughts and unpopular opinions about the Digimon anime. And I guess the last bits being franchise related, I guess. But yeah, so those are my thoughts. Side note, I would love an anime that's based after a virtual pet as a Digivice. Not quite like the Digivice V, which kind of like came out around the same time. I want, like, you know, they all have their little Digimon. More like what we have in the manga, where how they all seem to start with a kid having a Digimon virtual pet. I think that's pretty cool. But in any case, those are my thoughts, those are my unpopular opinions. Roast me in the comments below. Like this video because it's really warm in here, and because it's getting warm now, and I'm suffering. And I hope I don't look too gross. But yeah, so let me know your thoughts about how gross I look, I guess, as well. So if you like this video for sympathy, subscribe if you haven't already, because I tend to have thoughts about Digimon on occasion, so subscribe and check out my other videos. And of course, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!